Consumer Price Index, March 2022. Transmission of material in this release is embargoed until 8:30 a.m. Eastern. April 12, 2022. The Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, CPI-U, increased 1.2% in March on a seasonally adjusted basis after rising 0.8% in February, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today. Over the last 12 months, the All Items Index increased 8.5% before seasonal adjustment. Increases in the indexes for gasoline, shelter, and food were the largest contributors to the seasonally adjusted All Items increase. The gasoline index rose 18.3% in March and accounted for over half of the All Items monthly increase. Other energy component indexes also increased. The food index rose 1.0% and the food at home index rose 1.5%. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.3% in March following a 0.5% increase the prior month. The shelter index was by far the biggest factor in the increase, with a broad set of other indexes also contributing, including those for airline fares, household furnishings and operations, medical care, and motor vehicle insurance. In contrast, the index for used cars and trucks fell 3.8% over the month. The All Items Index continued to accelerate, rising 8.5% for the 12 months ending March, the largest 12-month increase since the period ending December 1981. The All Items Less Food and Energy Index rose 6.5%, the largest 12-month change since the period ending August 1982. The Energy Index rose 32.0% over the last year, and the Food Index increased 8.8%. The largest 12-month increase since the period ending May 1981. Chart 1. 1-month percent change in CPI for all urban consumers, CPI-U, seasonally adjusted, March 2021 to March 2022. Chart 2. 12-month percent change in CPI for all urban consumers, CPI-U, not seasonally adjusted, March 2021 to March 2022. Table A. Percent changes in CPI for all urban consumers, CPI-U, U.S. city average. Food. The food index increased 1.0% in March as the food at home index increased 1.5% over the month. All 6 major grocery store food group indexes increased in March. The largest increase was for other food at home, which increased 2.0% over the month. The index for fruits and vegetables rose 1.5% following a 2.3% increase in February. The index for meats, poultry, fish, and eggs increased 1.0% in March, while the index for cereals and bakery products rose 1.5% and the index for non-alcoholic beverages increased 1.2% over the month. The dairy and related products index also increased 1.2% in March. The food away from home index rose 0.3% in March, a smaller increase than in recent months. The index for full-service meals rose 0.7% over the month, in contrast to the index for limited-service meals which declined 0.2%, its first decrease since October 2018. The food at home index rose 10.0% over the last 12 months, the largest 12-month increase since the period ending March 1981. The index for meats, poultry, fish, and eggs increased 13.7% over the last year as the index for beef rose 16.0%. The other major grocery store food group indexes also rose over the past year, with increases ranging from 7.0%, dairy and related products, to 10.3%, other food at home. The index for food away from home rose 6.9% over the last year, the largest 12-month increase since December 1981. The index for full-service meals rose 8.0% over the last 12 months, and the index for limited-service meals rose 7.2%. The index for food at employee sites and schools, in contrast, declined 30.5% over the past 12 months, reflecting widespread free lunch programs. Energy. The energy index rose 11.0% in March following a 3.5% increase in February. The gasoline index rose sharply in March, increasing 18.3% after rising 6.6% in February. Before seasonal adjustment, gasoline prices rose 19.8% in March. The index for electricity increased 2.2% in March, while the index for natural gas rose 0.6% over the month. The energy index rose 32.0% over the past 12 months, with all major energy component indexes increasing. The index for gasoline rose 48.0% over the last year, and the index for natural gas rose 21.6%. The index for electricity rose 11.1% for the 12 months ending March. All items less food and energy. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.3% in March. The shelter index increased 0.5% in March and accounted for nearly two-thirds of the monthly increase in the all items less food and energy index. The rent index increased 0.4% in March, as did the owner's equivalent rent index. The index for lodging away from home rose 3.3% over the month after rising 2.2% in February. The index for airline fares rose 10.7% in March, after rising 5.2% in February. The household furnishings and operations index rose 1.0% over the month, the eighth consecutive increase in that index. The index for motor vehicle insurance increased 0.7% in March, and the index for apparel rose 0.6% in March. The index for recreation increased 0.2%, and the index for personal care increased 0.5% over the month. The medical care index increased 0.5% in March. The index for physician services also increased 0.5% over the month, while the index for hospital services rose 0.4%. The index for prescription drugs fell 0.2% in March, after rising 0.3% in February. The index for new vehicles increased 0.2% in March after rising 0.3% the previous month. The index for used cars and trucks fell 3.8% in March, its second consecutive monthly decline after a series of large increases. The index for communication was also among those few indexes which declined over the month, falling 0.5%. The index for all items less food and energy rose 6.5% over the past 12 months, with virtually all of its major component indexes rising over the span. The shelter index rose 5.0% over the last 12 months, its largest 12-month increase since May 1991. The index for household furnishings and operations increased 10.1% over the past year, its largest 12-month increase since a period ending July 1975. Not seasonally adjusted CPI measures. The Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, CPI-U, increased 8.5% over the last 12 months to an index level of 287.504, 1982-84 equals 100. For the month, the index increased 1.3% prior to seasonal adjustment. The Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, CPI-W, increased 9.4% over the last 12 months to an index level of 283.176, 1982-84 equals 100. For the month, the index rose 1.5% prior to seasonal adjustment. The Chained Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, CPI-U, increased 8.1% over the last 12 months. For the month, the index increased 1.2% on a not seasonally adjusted basis. Please note that the indexes for the past 10 to 12 months are subject to revision. The Consumer Price Index for April 2022 is scheduled to be released on Wednesday, May 11, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. Eastern.